Hey guys, who did I bring today? Do you know this guy's sound? Check it out. This is Joe Pass, the master of masters in solo jazz guitar. Many say he doesn't look like a guitarist, but that he looks like a building doorman, a bus conductor, or an old man with a mustache. But he's really awesome. And once again, continuing our series, what did I learn from certain masters? Lessons. The master. I picked this guy because you asked for it. I'm taking requests again. I'm Matthias Starr. I'm a guitarist and founder of the Star Academy of Music, and on this channel I talk about music for musicians. So stay tuned until the end. And I'm already asking you for suggestions for the next video in this series. Who is the guitarist you want to see in the next video, huh? Our series is really taking off. So I took excerpts from a Joe Pass video lesson from Rocket League called The Blue Side of Jazz. It's a really cool video lesson. It's been around for about 30-something years. And obviously, I only took parts where he speaks, so as not to compromise. Obviously, that's the work of the video lesson. If you want the complete video lesson, then you buy it. But anyway, I took some excerpts so we can comment on Joe Pass's own remarks. And we start with this comment here.
I noticed a lot of young guitarists that are very good players, but they don't seem to know some of the basic procedures and playing with a group or playing professionally or playing before an audience. One of the things is like learning to take and knowing how to take an intro or taking an intro on that blues just to show you that you should tune or have some, and not necessarily a chordal intro. It can be any kind of single lines. It can be chords, combination. It can be that happened to be, I think, a 6-bar intro. It can be a 4-bar. Generally, it's a 4-bar or 8-bar intro.
This point about introductions, man, is very important. And what's more interesting is that we've been doing a lot of jam sessions at the Starling Academy right in person. In other words, the students go up to play without rehearsal. So I tell the students the following. You are responsible for starting the song, leading the melody, the tempo, and you are responsible for ending the song. Joe Pass says something very interesting that many guitarists play very well. But the guy doesn't even bother to create an introduction for the song, right? So he started this video lesson by playing a blues. But what he did was a basic blues, 12 bars. He went and created an introduction for this blues. And what can the introduction be? It can be the last 4 bars of the song, the last 8 bars. Or it can be, for example, like The Girl from Ipanema that people often do. Staying on chord 1 and the flat 2, 7, 1, flat 2, 7. So there are many ways to create an introduction, but basically it's there between 4 and 8 bars with a striking part of the song that is usually either the beginning or the end of the song. Take a look at how the section is, how he created this introduction for the blues. So, another important point about this jam session issue, about playing with people, is creating an ending for the song. It's important to create an introduction, and it's also important to know how to close the song. When you start the song, you are responsible for finishing it. So how do you finish it? Obviously, each style has some differences, but basically, regardless of the style, how do you end a song where there isn't a specific ending or like a different arrangement for the song? You repeat the last 4 bars or 8 bars. Sometimes the song is very fast. Well, you repeat those 4 or 8 bars and you repeat these bars more than once.
One of the other things that the players don't seem to do strong enough that I noticed is that ending a tune, like kind of jamming the last 8 bars or last 4 bars out, knowing like
that basic ending that everyone does is when you repeat once, repeat a second time. On the third, you do that slowing down, gradually decreasing the tempo so that the band understands you're closing. So just notice, when you're doing a jam session playing with people, you don't have that rehearsal space. It's important that you have a common language. So people are noticing in your introduction, oh, I managed to notice there are 4, 6, or 8 bars of the music, right? And obviously, man, you're going to play while looking at the people. When you're closing, the people who know will also realize that you're repeating the pattern there. So you have to stay tuned to that, okay? These are extremely important ideas, and I think Joe Pass talks about something important because he talks about musicians who already play very well, and we usually talk about younger guitarists. We talk about guitarists, but this applies to any musician. The guys play very well, but it's always like this. Am I playing for myself? When it's my turn, it's my moment to improvise, I'm going to improvise a lot. But then, man, you guys handle the melody, you guys start the introduction, you guys finish the song. I'm just here in my role to come and deliver my wonderful solo and go home. And he's saying, man, the professional musician has to be concerned with these details. How you start a song, how you accompany another musician, how you finish the song, how you take on the responsibility of starting and finishing. When we do jam sessions, I tell the students that it's an opportunity for them to mature professionally. They are preparing for the job market because you will play with many people and you won't have the opportunity to rehearse. So when you start the song, it has to be at a tempo where you feel confident. You're going to do the introduction. You're going to play the melody of the song. It's your responsibility, right? You're the one playing the song. Weren't you the one who chose the theme? And to finish, everyone will be looking at you because you are leading the song. Look at this part of the interview, which is really cool. A reflection that I've never heard anyone talk about before. Check it out.
If you're a solo guitarist, stay away from the keys of E, A, and D. Limit songs in E, A, or D to avoid monotony. Change keys to keep interest in those keysing, but don't play more than 1 or 2 tunes, because my theory is that you start to have the drone dream of E, A, E, D. And it doesn't matter what you play, how beautiful the strings are. And those strings can be very beautiful in from here to Bicus and the streaming close. But Argai, I put in the new slap and yourself too. So always try to play with you playing here in Vi. Maybe play the next piece in Kyoji, C, or Eb, or BB.
So notice what an interesting point of view, right? You who want to do a show, solo guitar, for example. He tells you to avoid playing songs sequentially with very open chords, keys like E major, A, D, lots of open strings. And he has an interesting point, a reflection of his, where he says that this creates a certain drowsiness in the audience. I had never heard anyone talk about this specifically. So the tip he gives is, man, if you're going to do a show, 15 songs, 14 songs, 13 songs, it doesn't matter, play only 1 or 2 at most with keys of E, A, and D, which have these open strings, because it creates this feeling of drowsiness in the audience. Have you ever heard anyone talk about this before? Write to me here. I hadn't. I found it a super interesting point and absorbed it for future solo performances, which I don't usually do. Playing much alone, but it's interesting, huh? Look at what Joe Pass says now about accompanying another soloist.
When you are playing chords for another soloist, whether it's a horn player, a pianist, or another guitarist, you are not just playing chord changes for this, are not just making chords for this soloist. So you don't think in terms of, well, I have the chords, A, G, F, B, so I just play these chords and wait for my turn to play. You're supposed to be to play, which many guys do. You are actually supposed to be enhancing his music, feeding your chords to him. And you are actually supposed to be creating a little melodic movement yourself. I mean, it's not just, I'm going to play these chords and wait until it's my solo. Those moving chords. It's so rewarding if you're listening to what you play, just like playing a solo with 1,000,000 notes or 3 notes or anything.
And here, once again, it's Joe Pass talking about the issue of maturity, right? In the beginning, what do we want to do? Man, we want to get there and we want to play. We practice all the time at home, our solos, our accompaniments. But it's as if many times the accompanist, especially the guitarist, is accompanying more just to quickly get to their turn. And they're not getting into that accompaniment the way they should be. And what Joe Pass says is, man, when you're accompanying, you have to put the same level of pleasure into it as if you were improvising, as if you were doing a solo with millions of notes, right? So what's the tip he gives? Don't just play the chords. Try to also create some melodic lines, because what happens? This is very common on the piano, right? The person accompanies, they have two hands, they try to create some lines, almost like, I see, it's like an orchestra, right? And you as a guitarist can do this too. Don't just play chord blocks. Try to create some lines, because you also give the improviser, the soloist of the moment, the opportunity to interact with these lines. So pay attention when you're listening to great musicians improvising. Take a look at the background, how the accompanist, whether it's a pianist or a guitarist, is accompanying, okay? I really like listening to piano players accompanying, like Herbie Hancock or Chick Corea. And you notice that, for example, a Keith Jarrett who has his trio work, actually he's playing the whole time. But when the bassist is soloing, for example, he accompanies. Notice how he accompanies, okay? And try to take these ideas from pianists to guitarists. Now you can simply look up Joe Pass and research how he accompanies other musicians. Check out this last excerpt I selected where he talks about chords.
A lot of the playfulness comes from the harmony between the chords, the form that you use. And if you watch guitar players like any of them, George Benson, Pat Metheny, Larry Coryell, George Van Epps, watch all these different kinds of guitar players. So you'll see that they're all using very much basically the same forms. There are certain forms on the guitar that sound good, that have good intervals between them. They have a good sound. They're easy to play, and you can get the most out of them. And most of them are bar forms, nines, these kinds of chords. Very few guys play, though there is a whole theory of playing the kind of voicing that is like saxophone voicing, boys. But most of the players use bar forms, chords that are really basic and not hard to grip or play, and they have a lot of freedom in their playing.
And the cool thing about this point of view from Joe Pass, I've mentioned this before, right? There's a part, I don't remember if it's from this video lesson or from some interview where he says, man, if the chord is difficult, I don't play it. And you realize that this is exactly what he's conveying, that there are certain blocks, right, for guitar, jazz guitar, that sound good, interval-wise, that are good to play. He always talks about chords that are closed, so they are quartal blocks, blocks with superposition. But he said that, man, if you take a Joe Pass, a George Van Epps, a George Benson, a Pat Metheny, all these guys, they will be using more or less the same types of blocks. They are blocks that are easy to make, and the importance of these blocks being easy is that you have fluency, you have more freedom. Sometimes the guitarist keeps looking for those difficult blocks to make, like a Ben Monder. Take a look at Ben Monder playing solo guitar. Man, there's a complexity. Now watch Ben Monder accompanying a saxophonist. He changes his way of accompanying because one thing is to take the chords and play them fluently, as if you were improvising with the chords. That's what Joe Pass is doing all the time, right? This solo guitar is about that. It's about improvising with chord blocks. So if the blocks are difficult to execute, you won't be able to have that fluency. So what's the tip I leave? Man, study a lot of chordal blocks, drop 2, drop 3 chords, learn to create connections between the chords, what we call voice, leading, okay? This smooth connection between the chords makes all the difference. Write to me here, what was the most interesting part of this interview for you? Suggest to me the name of the next guitarist. You realize that I am exactly following what you are mostly asking for. And if you don't know the Stark Academy of Music, come study with me with all our content and be part of this family too, okay? It's in the description here. God bless you, big hug.